Welcome back to the Friar Talk podcast and YouTube channel. Today, we're going to be talking about Josh Bell, who is a guy that we think is a huge part of our series on fixing the Padres. Now, we've had two segments on it so far. Our first one, we talked about really adopting analytics, really changing just like the structure and like the kind of like the winning mentality of the organization. You can go back and find that one. And then last episode, we DFA'd Eric Hosmer. So, of course, for this episode, we are replacing Hosmer. And then we're going to be going through some other offseason moves. We'll be talking about managers and all that stuff. But for this deal, the Padres, we have them giving up Aggie Rosario for Josh Bell. Now, Aggie Rosario is like a middle-tiered prospect. I think he's like in the teens for the Padres. Second baseman, middle infielder, pretty small, but a guy that probably makes sense when you're looking at what Josh Bell's deal would be. Just because he's gonna make it's estimated on Spotrac that he's gonna make $9 million in arbitration this year. It's his last year in control with the Nationals, and the Nationals really don't benefit much from holding on to him. They're clearly like in a tank mode, and then a rebuild around Juan Soto. He's very unlikely to be a part of that. So his value is not going to be super high. Another thing is he's a first baseman, and there's kind of a surplus of first basemen around the league. Like teams aren't really going to go out and like trade for first base like they do for starting pitching, for instance, or like catchers, stuff like that. It's not like a super pricey position, I would feel like, to go trade after. But Isaac, what do you think about this deal? And then what do you just think about the logistics of it as well?
Of course, I really like the deal. I don't think the Nationals really benefit from keeping Josh Bell in any way, shape, or form. He's probably not going to be a part of your rebuild. He's making 10 mil at a position. I kind of think of it like the running back. The running back in the NFL, normally you want a guy who doesn't get paid too much just because it's a really flexible position. I kind of think of it that way because in this instance, if we were to get Bell, we can plug in Bell sometimes. Cronenworth can play first. There's other guys that can play first. If Nola's taking a day off at catcher and we want him on the field, he can play first. If Myers is still on the team, he can play first. Like there's a bunch of guys that'd be able to play first. However, the big, most important thing is that you're replacing Eric Hosmer. You look at the baseball savant pages for both of them, at least offensively. Josh Bell is significantly better just because I don't think I saw a single thing of blue, maybe one. Other than that, it's just red and pinkish, which is like average, but only two average spots in it, only two average things in his on his page. And that's really what you want to see, especially considering the production we weren't getting from Eric Hosmer. Lots of grounding out into double plays. And I've said it before, April Eric Hosmer is a different animal. I don't know what goes on in April, but after that, he's, again, a different animal in a much worse way. So I think, defensively, you're obviously getting an upgrade considering Eric Hosmer is one of the worst defensive first basemen in baseball. And it's clear that you're getting, a tier, more production at the plate is what I'm trying to say. You're going to get more production at the plate. He is an all-star. Well, he was an all-star. He was an all-star before with the Pirates. Had a down year in 2020. Only a really small sample size, only 60 games, maybe less. I don't know if he got hurt or not. And then he comes back with the Nationals and has around a 820 OPS with a 261 batting average, and he had good numbers. So I think he'd be a really good guy for this team to have. Not as much of a cancer, not as much of a clubhouse cancer as Eric Hosmer seemed to be. Just a guy that everyone would want to, I think all the fan base wants.
Yeah, I'm with you guys on that. I wouldn't say he's a major upgrade defensively, probably, to Eric Hosmer. I'd say he'd probably play average first base, but average first base is still better than Eric Hosmer's first base because we've seen it. It's not pretty. They've made a highlight reel that's like 3 minutes long, and Eric Hosmer, has played maybe 3 or 4 years for the Padres now. I think we signed him back in 2018, and you already have a 3 video just on errors alone. That's kind of unacceptable. I think the only person that could have a longer error video is Gary Sanchez, and that's not saying a lot. So anything's better than that. And plus, with Josh Bell, you get the switch hitter that can bring power from both sides of the plate. And with Petco kind of having that short right field, and short left field, maybe he could pump up those power numbers a lot. You'd get some pretty good RBIs. It opens up the lineup. You have another power hitter, another guy that can drive and runs, a guy that can actually hit gap to gap. We kind of lacked that power or this last season. We saw a lot of power from Hosmer, from Myers, from Profar, from Nola. We saw a lot of guys go below their career norms and home runs and kind of just gap to gap hitting. And it really hurt. We didn't score as many runs as we needed to, especially during that second season, especially when approaches kind of went away. At least even when Josh Bell isn't hitting, he'll still probably maintain a little over like a 330 on base percentage, which is pretty good. So there's a lot of more positives to the guy. And when you especially look at the MLB free agents coming up to first base, you look at them, you got, let me pull them up. You have Freddie Freeman, probably not going to go anywhere. Brandon Belt, probably not going to go anywhere, especially considering the year he's had with the Giants. Gurriel is 38 and has a club option. Rizzo might stay with the Yankees. Yoshi Susugo, probably don't want him. Zimmerman is 37. He's old. Danny Santana might be an intriguing option. You don't want Todd Frazier. You definitely don't want Albert Pujols playing first base for you. I mean, if you have Albert Pujols playing first base for you, you're literally just trying to milk everything that Ben has, and trying to watch him run across to cover a bag probably would be the most horrific thing the Padres could ever do. So Josh Bell is the best option out there right now. So you do trade for him. I do think you're going to have to give up a little bit more than Ige Rosario, just because the Nationals could see this opportunity and be like, we're going to hold him, and then we're going to trade him because he's going to be a free agent after this year anyway. Then we're going to trade him at the deadline when somebody's going to need an impact back where there's a DH. He'll probably get traded to the AL, and that team might make a run, and they might re-sign him. And they would probably get a little bit more bang for their buck at the trade deadline than they would this offseason. So it's one of those things where it might benefit them more to hold on to him, but it might hurt them at the same time. So if you probably just give him a fair trade, I'd say probably throw in a lower level prospect with Ige, and that should be it. I think it's a great move.
So do you think that it's like if you throw another guy, like it will get them over to the hump to get the deal done this offseason?
Yeah, I think you do have to throw in just another one, because if you look at the Pirates trade, they traded away two probably mid-level guys. I wouldn't even consider the first guy mid-level. He kind of debuted in the MLB that year and kind of sucked. And so then the Pirates traded for him, and then he sucked for all of this year. And then the other guy, he had a decent year. He had like a 3.8 ERA in the minor leagues. So you can throw Ige, and then probably maybe a guy that just falls short of the top 30 prospect list. If they're like a pitcher or something, you toss that guy in there. Maybe throw some cash their way and be like, hey, we'll pay for this part of his contract too. And I think you got a deal.
Yeah, I think that'd be a huge win for the Padres in terms of improving the lineup. Where do you guys think he should hit in the lineup? Obviously, this is going to depend on other moves as well, but I think his sweet spot is if you have him hitting like fifth, he's a great fifth hitter to have. Because like you were saying, Isaac, his baseball savant page is really good. His exit velocity, super high. There's two Padres that have really, really high exit velocities. Nando and Manny. Manny's like 100 percentile. But Josh Bell is like 90 percentile, all the exit velocities, hard hit, all that kind of stuff. And then you look at his other stuff, chase rate, 75 percentile. Like his spray chart, it looks like Manny Machado's spray chart. Like he's hitting all over the field. Chase brought up he's a switch hitter. You have a power switch hitter. That's huge. That's something that they really need. That's something that they've been lacking. It feels like they don't have that guy. Like they went out and I don't know. I just think that if they went out and they get a guy like this, that's a huge improvement to the lineup. Where if you do this, and I'll say right now, like this is not going to be our only move this offseason, but if you just did this, you improved them. You improved the team. You improved the lineup quite a bit. So anything else you guys want to add?
Yeah, this is the kind of move that has to be done, whether it's Josh Bell or just some other mid-tier first baseman. It just cannot be a lower tier first baseman like Eric Hosmer, because Eric Hosmer is not the type of guy you have on your roster if you want to win a World Series. I can't think of a guy. I've said it before. I can't really think of a guy in the playoffs right now. The Astros won their series today. The Red Sox won their series. The Giants might win their series tonight. Time will tell with that one. And the Braves win their series. I don't know if there's a guy on those teams that significantly hold down their teams as much as Hosmer. So that's just an emphasis on why you got to get rid of him, why you got to replace him, whether it's Josh Bell or someone else. I told Matt and Chase a sleeper candidate, which is no one's gonna want to hear this case or anything like that because of how bad of a year he had this year and how mediocre he's been since he's won the MVP. Cody Bellinger, I think if they don't tender him, if they don't keep him, and he's gone, I think it's a good buy low opportunity to be able to go out there and get him. But in terms of Josh Bell, you look at all his numbers, you look at everything going on with him defensively, offensively. It's a really good upgrade. Where I'd have him hitting, 5th or 6th is definitely the sweet spot, especially if the DH is back next year. I gotta put Nando back at leadoff because he's gonna have scoring opportunities with that extra hitter down at the bottom in the 9th spot or wherever he is. And you put Cronenworth and Machado 3-4, I think you're set right there, and you can be interchangeable with your second spot. If you want to put Abrams in that second spot if he's up next year, you're set up really nicely 1 through 5.
Yeah, and look, even if you don't sign someone to play first base, there are in-house options. We saw Profar play a decent first base defensively. Offensively, second half of the season, he started to come around. Cronenworth could play first, and then sure, you're trotting out either Frazier, Kim, or Profar in second and left. But that's still an upgrade defensively and sort of offensively because we saw when Kim was hitting, or just Kim in the lineup in general, the Padres for some reason played a lot better than normal. There was that ridiculous stat that when ha-seong Kim was playing, they were like 37 and 15 or something like that. It was something ridiculous, and it was just him being in the lineup. So I feel like if you just get rid of Hosmer, you're already making a step in the right direction. Adding Josh Bell just kind of makes it from going from a good move to going, wow, this team is serious about contention and serious about going to the World Series this year. So, you know what? I think you can't go wrong either way. If you try to go in-house, if you go for Josh Bell, I think going for Bell helps significantly more. But going and trying to sign one of these free agents for more money, I think would hurt you. If the only person you want outside of maybe Brad Miller, because he has some very intriguing baseball savant numbers, is Josh Bell, because the rest of them are going to cost some money. And I just don't think the Padres would be like, yeah, you know what? We just DFA'd Hosmer and it cost us this much money. Let's go and sign this guy for another $10 million or $12 million, how much ever they're going to cost.
Alrighty. Well, that is going to do it for today. If you guys like the idea of bringing in Josh Bell, let us know. If there's another guy that you think they should go after, or just another move, like Chase was saying, a potential in-house option, let us know. Very interesting stuff about ha-seong Kim too. I know that stat was insane. Like their winning percentage was so high when he was playing. And when he was early on in the year, when he started like half of the games, I think he was 3rd in the league in defensive WAR. Like he is that good of a fielder. He's a huge difference maker on defense. So that's going to do it for today's episode, though. Thank you all for listening, and we'll be back, and it'll just be me and Isaac, but we're going to be talking about the manager candidates tomorrow. So thank you all, and we'll talk soon.